for your 5-minute round of questions.
Okay. Good afternoon, everyone. Good afternoon to my colleagues. Good afternoon to the testifiers and the people of this territory. I want to start off and say, as a first-time senator sitting here and listening to some of this testimony, I am somewhat taken back because I am a very strong advocate when it comes to the education of our children. And when I continuously hear comments such as "we don't know," that scares me, because when we fail to plan, we plan to fail. And in this territory, we cannot afford to fail our children. So we have to start, when you're coming to these meetings or even planning, make sure you set deadlines and give us dates so we could better understand what we're going to be working towards. One of the statements that I heard had to do with doing some data collection from students in regards to their learning virtually. What has been done to do an analysis on the teachers? Because one thing I know from being part of the public school system is all teachers are not created equal. So how has this transition affected some of them and their ability to teach in a completely different realm?
Senator, in the St. Thomas St. John district, we've conducted wellness checks of our teachers as well as students, and we've also provided additional support by having a school-based and a district-based tech support team, and we also give them jobs right there at the school level.
Madam Chair, I didn't hear the last part of what Mr. Jurgen said.
I was saying that we provide our teachers with job-embedded support. We realize that, a lot of the platforms are new to them. We don't expect them to be experts, and that's why we have a school technological team that assists them, especially in traversing this virtual world.
Okay. Specifically, when it comes to special education, have you collected any data as it relates to the IEP and or 504 recipients during this pandemic time? Because I know these are special cases and these children need additional attention. What is your status, if you have collected any data of that, to understand what's happening with them specifically?
Senator, in the St. Thomas St. John district, we monitor special education very closely. One of the things that we paused for a little while at the beginning of the pandemic is keeping up with our testing, but we have outfitted our Doba campus to be able to accommodate students coming in so that testing continues. Our special education supervisors are updating our IEPs, and all teachers are still held responsible, the entire district, for what is carried out in the students' IEP. 57 students have been identified to be a part of a special education program that also provides after-school services in this district.
And speaking to several teachers, one of the things that they have shared with me is when we're dealing with students where everybody has not been able to log in or connect, some have slow bandwidth, and I know you guys have been handing out laptops. I can honestly say that in the last 2 days, my niece was one of those that received her laptop. I want to know what the status of the MiFis are, as well as, if I missed it, as well as trying to understand what is happening with teachers that have to deal with students that, even though they might or might not have the equipment, because they're investing to create additional packages, I have heard, to assist those students. How is that balancing out? For some, they feel they're almost teaching 2 sets of classes, one virtually and one where they have to do paper and manual. How does that work? And do they get additional assistance for that?
Senator, initially when we did not have the quantity of Chromebooks that we now have, students were logging on using cell phones and tablets. We've since been able to replace all of those other devices, but we continue to monitor how the students in special education are performing and respond accordingly. That's why the after-school program has been started, and we've identified some 57 students that will be utilizing those services.
Senator?
What's the status of those?
The MiFis, we have reordered MiFis 3 times throughout the semester. We've distributed 1,150, and just recently we received some additional numbers that we did not have before. And we are placing another and waiting for that to be filled.
Madam Chair, may I ask my final question, please?
That's fine. You may proceed.
Thank you. I know one of the mandates of the CDC speaks to ventilation and air quality because the health of our students, and I know you're preparing for some of the students to return. As a member of the Education Committee for 2 weeks before, as the only minority member, I was removed from that committee. We were able to go on site tours. And looking at some of the classrooms and various areas, I noticed that I was a little bit concerned as to the time frame, as to how some of these things are going to be done. Has the health department, along with the Department of Education, how have you been working to prepare for this? Because in order for these students to go back to school, air quality and air must be in a situation where they can go back. What is the status of that, or what is your plan for that?
So, thank you for the question, Senator. The plan for that is as a result of our receiving our $53 million in CARES Act 2 funding, we do have ventilation for air quality, the improvement of air quality as one of our infrastructural purchases. So that will be paid through our $53 million for all of our schools throughout the territory. We didn't have sufficient funding to do that prior, and now we do.
Do you have an idea when it's going to be done?
Not at this time, Senator. We're in the planning stages.
Thank you, Senator.
Thank you very much, Madam Chair.
Thank you.
If I can.
Okay, and before we proceed, I just want to highlight one of the things that I have encouraged from the very beginning is any of the senators, all 15 who are interested in education efforts, whether committee or non-committee members, are open. I appreciated when we endeavored and when we went through with these school tours, I invited the entire institution. So I want to make note of that. Thank you very much. Moving on now to Senator Francis for your round of questions.
First, can you guys hear me? Okay. First up, I would like to speak to Dr. Hall for a moment. As I sat here and I listened to your testimony, I actually came and I was prepared to be enthralled a little bit more to hear more about the online. And I noted here in your testimony, it was basically one sentence. I want to understand, has the university collected any information or data as to the effect of COVID-19? Because you did share earlier that enrollment had reduced by 11%. But were there any uptakes, any positives? What were some of the drawbacks? I know you shared some of them, but I want to know a little bit more overall. And have you collected any data to corroborate to see if you should move more permanently to some of these 70+ classes to stay online, or are you planning on taking most of them back to the regular classroom?
Thank you, Senator, for your question. We have certainly, our students evaluate every course, and we have looked at that for the spring semester, which was the first time when we had to move everything remotely. And we've done that for the fall semester when, again, we had every course, with rare exceptions, remotely. I think the good news is that our students overwhelmingly felt that they received a quality experience. In the spring, for example, when we first moved to online because of COVID, we only had 5 students who withdrew from the university. You have to compare that to after when the hurricanes came in 2017, we lost about 300 students immediately after the hurricanes. So that data alone says to us that we were able to deliver on what students expected for the most part during that period. We were able to still graduate the students who were up for graduation. We had about 300 students, which is right about what we expected that did graduate. We had to delay the ceremony to December, but we still graduated the class. So, and the other thing that is outside of the classroom experience, but our leaders in student affairs and in our Center for Student Success created all sorts of virtual student engagements, from cooking classes to dance classes to so many other things online, so that students didn't feel as if they were just isolated and taking their classes. So overall, I think our faculty members and staff did an outstanding job under the circumstances. The challenge, and what we believe that 11% drop is due, is that those students made it through that semester. For some of them, that's not the experience they wanted. They wanted an experience where they could live on campus, where they could come to classes. For some students who we were recruiting, you're now asking them to come into an uncertain environment. We didn't make the final decision. We were hoping to bring students back in the fall. We had gone through so many plans to keep the campus safe, to go to single occupancy as opposed to double occupancy. But right in August, as you recall, the number of cases in the territory, it really was late July, just spiked enormously, and we felt we could not go back. So some of that in uncertainty probably also contributed. So though we have learned a lot from the...
Now, I was saying thank you. I appreciate it. And I need to ask a couple more questions before my time runs out. I will see if I could reach out to you offline so I could get a little bit more information. Okay? Thank you.
I'll be glad to do that.
Appreciate it. I would like to speak to our AFT representatives, Soto Thomas and Ms. Callwood. One of the things sitting here listening to you, I clearly see your passion for the protection of our teachers and our students, but you made a statement that you have been continuously excluded from some of the decision-making process. Do you have an idea as to why this is happening? Because you keep saying it's happening, but there has to be some rationale behind where it's happening so we can come up with a solution.
Time.
Rosa, go first.
You need to go first this time, Carol. Go ahead. Go first.
Thank you.
Your turn.
Because I have one more question.
The reason
Yes.
escapes and President Soto Thomas, we have no idea, but it has basically started from post-Storm Maria. We were not involved post-Storm Maria in the decision-making that for how they were going to reopen schools, the process, what schools they're going to use, and any of that. We learned about it the exact same time as the community did when the commissioner makes her media tours and her online press box. That's when most of our members hear about the decisions that were made then. And at the beginning of this COVID process, it was done. They have gotten a little bit better where they will send out a memo the night of or the night before for our membership and or call us the day before to have that meeting with us just before they make the publication. But as far as having a conversation with us before the decisions are made,
why this is happening to you.
So a lot of the times we're looking at what is going to be the plan. We gave them, I wrote a letter in March of last year, wrote another letter in July, did again a letter in January restating our concerns, and we have not received a response. We
And Ms.
looked at
Soto?
we went over the checklist for
St.
reopening.
Croix?
We don't have any of that information. This is what's going to happen. We're going to be opening. This is where we are.
Ms. Soto Thomas from the District of St. Croix, share with me quickly.
To answer your question, Senator, I'm not certain why the department is taking this position. The leadership and the head of the department is taking this position. But I do know that I work with Carlos McGregor. We meet on a regular basis. But then there are times when things shifts and decisions are made and it's not consistent. All right? We have these great meetings, but it's never consistent as to the release of information, like members being told to go back into the schools. That was never discussed. We'd had a big meeting, and then in the St. Croix district, they receive emails from their principals telling them that they have to return to the buildings because the department is getting ready to open. So I was confused because they were slated to open on Monday. They were slated on open Monday. A group of students were supposed to come back. They had done all the media rounds. It was preschool through first grade, was supposed to report on February 8th. I didn't make it up. And the teachers were like, what the heck is going on? They even announced they were supposed to do an orientation for parents. So I told them, well, opening definitely can't happen because the orientation, didn't happen. Health didn't clear it. The department, the union made sure that, we kept telling them, you need to clear it with health. Just like during an OSHA and all the agencies that were discussed this morning. This happened right after the hurricane. We had all these people come in. So I don't know what's going on now. I really don't know. I think they're playing games.
We will have
but we need to move forward.
Thank you. We'll have to look into that. Madam Chair, could I just ask my last question quickly?
Sure. Go ahead.
Appreciate it. This is to Ms. Jackson when it comes to the CTE program. You had a line in the testimony here from Dr. Michael Francois. The board also faces various challenges. The VI code mandates the board's oversight of all federal CTE funding, yet this is not in effect. The board also mandates participation in all phases of CTE programs, approved plans, and the promotion of CTE as an essential and integral part of our public school system in the Virgin Islands. Can you tell us a little bit as to why and since this is happening, and how do you intend to resolve that you are trying to get control of these funds?
Thank you for your question, Senator. As per the VI code, this is what I quoted in terms of our oversight on how the funding is used. The Department of Education really administers CTE funds, and we do have a state level, Miss Carlwood, who is the state director.
So when you say oversight, is it? Okay. Now, what I want to ask you quickly before I close, when you say oversight as opposed to the Department of Education administering, I need to understand that a little bit, because is it directly under you that you have to make the decision as to where the money goes and then the department puts it out? How does that's the part I'm trying to understand.
Okay. As per the code, we're supposed to have complete oversight. As per what actually happens, and we discussed it we had a meeting with the commissioner and her team last week or the week before.
Okay.
And we did mention it, and that's why I put at the end of that paragraph, we are working on improving the level of involvement.
Thank you for that.
We did have some, yes.
Well, we'll see how we could get that sorted out. Madam Chair, I want to thank you for giving me an opportunity to finish up my questioning. And overall, from what I have heard here today, there's clearly a lot of work to do when it comes to the education of our people in this territory. And as an incoming senator, along with my other colleagues, I am sure that we're going to push really hard and fight to make sure that not only our young people, but our adults alike get the necessary education they need in order to push forward the Virgin Islands to a better place. Thank you, Madam Chair, for the time.
Thank you very much, Senator. And just on the last point that you made, Dr. Jackson, just if you want to just give a clarifying point, when was the process started with the engagement of the Virgin Islands Department of Education? The CTEC board started the issue surrounding oversight when, and also just for by way of record, the meeting, I have awareness as a committee chairwoman that there was a collaborative meeting between the Board of Education and the department, as well as the CTEC board, but those engagements began some months ago as well. You don't need specific dates, but just basically give a more clarifying point to Senator Francis Heyliger's question. Because you're muted?
Sorry. We have met on several occasions with the Assistant Commissioner. We began that process maybe about, this is February, maybe about October, November.
Of last year. Yeah. Of last
year.
Okay.
Sorry. And we talked about the VI code and some of our concerns regarding the oversight or the direct involvement and participation in decisions that are made, especially for the Perkins funds, which are federal funds. We also met with the commissioner. The commissioner initiated a meeting with VIBE as well as CTE. However, she spent some of the time we were with CTE, but we were with VIBE. However, the last hour was spent only with us, meaning CTE and VIDE. So we did talk about the oversight, and she did mention that this is something that we're going to continue discussion on. We are not sure how that will go, but we're grateful, at least for the start and initiation of those talks.
And one thing I'd highlight today to all my colleagues on the agenda today, and as public who's really keen and aware, a request was made of the Department of Education for a breakdown of the Carl D. Perkins